Item C, Commissioner Higgins has requested Board of Elections Director Debbie George to give us an update on the...
None of the schools had broadband. In fact, there was no broadband in the county. So, I accepted a job as the Executive Director of Foothills Connect, an economic development program funded by the state, primarily, actually through the Rural Center. And what you're looking at is the actual plan I put together for distribution of fiber optics to every school and every volunteer fire department in a 550 square mile county. The idea being that we would be able to launch radios, wireless broadband from those locations, creating 32 hotspots throughout the county. Fast forward another 10 years, and I'm in your county. left Foothills Connect after having won a national award and $100,000 for putting that system together. I was, as a member of what's called the Catawba Partners of Asheville, we were invited to work with a local nonprofit called Mainspring, what's called Little Tennessee Land Trust of Little Tennessee. And you're looking at the map that we are implementing as we speak of a number of landscapes along Route 28 in the Little Tennessee River Valley that the Mountain Partners, as they're called, a group of representing the Cherokee and of the surrounding municipalities, decided would be smartphone enabled. So I was asked to go in and come up with a plan about how we were going to do that. And as most of you know, if you've been down Route 28, there's not much broadband there, and there's several dead zones. It was in that regard that I ran into a lady here, I'll sit next to Linda Lamp, who represents 65 communities of the WNC communities, a 60-plus-year-old organization that represents the rural communities. That chance meeting ended up being a 4-hour conversation as she picked my brain as far as rural broadband and how to do it. And she introduced me to some of her members that are here in Macon County. Uppermost would be the Upper Cartougaget community. And I started meeting with them under the idea that it's the communities that are going to organize and affect connectivity back to the infrastructure that's a bit more stationary and usually run by providers. I was in conjunction with a conversation with Phil Drake at Drake Software. We were told that if we were to come up with 60 people that would buy the internet service, that he'd be willing to work with us in terms of getting a signal out there. And we did that. To their credit, making the call of the leader for Upper Cartougaget was able to deliver to them 60 names. And on top of that, because it's in a basin with a prominence that is visible to most of the people in that basin up on Blaine Knob, that we were able to see that if we put an antenna there, that most of the people would be able to receive a internet signal wirelessly, because Blaine Knob is also visible to Cowee Bald, from which there are a number of antennas and backhaul. And in talking to several, actually a couple of groups, the Forest Service and with Mr. Cave of Emergency Management, we were told that we could, if we were worked through a nonprofit, we could use their facilities. So, I'm here to talk about broadband and how I know that there's a lot of folks that don't have any connectivity here. it is without question, and I say to you, as my county, Rutherford County, has just today been elevated from a Tier 1 county to a Tier 2 county. That the economic development opportunities are unbelievable once you get broadband. Home-based businesses, telemedicine. Obamacare pays for telemedicine. I've heard while I've been here in this county that you have 34% of your population is over 65. Telemedicine is something that they can all use if they're connected. Educationally, and talking with Mr. Shields, he can validate the idea. If you're a classroom teacher, you can tell the kids who are connected and who are the kids that are disconnected. It's easy because the connected kids know stuff, right? That these other kids have never seen before, because they have, if they care to not watch movies, they will have access to the entire curriculum of MIT and Harvard. They're not going to get credit for it, but they're going to get the knowledge. They're going to have the entire library of MIT, of the University of Michigan, and on and on and on. And the information is without doubt worldwide, if you're connected. So you'd say, well, how's this happen? Well, it's, again, you got to find the communities, got to find leadership within the communities, and then you work backwards. The infrastructure is known. We know where most of the fiber is. We know where the infrastructure is. So in Rutherford County, what we did is we found a tower that was 37 miles, or pardon me, 18 miles away on Tryon Peak in Polk County. And we could see from this water tower that peak. And so that's my first antenna. And I went to the Appalachia Regional Commission, and I argued with their expert for a long time that tower could transmit radio signals to communities that could see it. And they gave me $100,000 to do just that. And now that system has over 500 customers on it, whereas they had nothing before. So I'm here to say that WCNC community has organized these communities here in your county already, and with your acquiescence, permission, support, we would like to find a way to connect each and every one. And that is my story, I'm sticking to it.
Stand up there, madam.
This is Linda Lamb, Executive Director of WCNC. I have my partner, Dr. Tom Hatley.
Carry the root
We and I have talked a number of times. We met a number of times. And I think our region is moving into the broadband. There's research ways to do it. And what we've discussed before, we don't want Macon County left behind. And so we're trying to devise something so the people of Macon County can have access to the broadband. And that's our objective, trying to find the strategy to go with it. And I think what I'd like to ask from the board is that our county manager, Mr. Rowland, and I be given permission from you to continue this research into a steering committee. And then bring that steering committee up within people of Macon County. We're looking at health services, you're looking at finance, you're looking at the banking industry, you're looking at DDC, Tommy, I see you back there. A number of players here and we want to bring some people together to talk about what we're going to need to expand broadband. What do they need? What do banks need? You mentioned there a while ago regarding to your medical.
Elements.
Right. And we want to hear what people say from the hospital, and we want to put together a steering committee that will go out here and seek information, see what we really need here in Macon County, and come back to the board probably February or March and give you an update on what we are. Because the footprint that Cartoon J is presenting, that same footprint to some degree could be Otto. It could be over Holly Springs, Carl. And, but these are what we're moving toward. But we want to go back in and look at some of the people who are the technical parts. We want to look at the finance sector. We want to look at the medical part, emergency services. We want to see who all these players are and what we have to do to bring all the people in, especially these service area people. And that's Ms. Roll and I, we've talked about it, and we kind of need your permission to move on forward with this idea to try to get a handle on our needs, not just people needs, but you got health department, those things like that to make sure that we're covering all the bases. And through Crystal Will's help, Tom and Ms. Lamb, they know how to do it. We just got to do the legwork and give us permission to take it on. We'll go with it.
Again, Jim, to do this study that he feels that you're going to do enough in this board, but we know that it's going to be. There's going to come a time when you're going to feel the financial part, even the study to get the, or when will that come into play and when will that be discussed?
Well, this study was financed by Southwest Regional Commission opt-in money through ARC. They're a pass-through. So there's grants available for it. My original plan, I raised $1.5 million to put fiber optics from Gold Leaf Foundation. So the money is there. But what I would suggest is that down the road it will become a public-private partnership that with the community in control of the distribution, let's say the water tower, but the community control it so that in the future they don't get obsoleted by being able to contract on either end, on the fiber optic end or the what's called the last mile, that actually the customer gets. They can contract with it and buy it as a service. To your point, that there is money out there in grants to be able to do it. The other participation that the county may well be asked to provide is that there are public assets that you are in control of. Right-of-ways. There's towers, much as Mr. Cave had suggested. There are, in some communities, they actually own the street, the poles that the red lights are on. These are assets that can be dedicated to the community broadband to be used that will cut down on the price of the installation. So every case is going to be different. I've never seen any of them where they're the same. But the county is going to be needed to participate. First, the easiest thing for you is the assets. Let the community lease the asset from you. The second thing is that it's in the county's self-interest to support it financially if it's needed. And so, with your permission, we'll get started on looking for money from granting. What's that?
Southwest Commission, I believe. They got here to serve, they money away.
And WMC Communities has a very deep relationship with the Southwest Regional Planning Commission. So it's not going to be free. It's never free, and that's why you don't have it. All right, but it should be considered a public utility. To me, having seen in my own county us go from 99 out of 100 poverty when I got there to, I guess we're at least 64th out of 100 now, or 67. That would be less than 7 years. I've seen the results in terms of the number of kids that are going to college. Right now, in the state of North Carolina, you have more kids taking classes online than you do, as we say, meat in the seat. Right? Telemedicine is going to be huge. You've seen people wearing those Fitbits. They're communicating through the internet to laptops or to desktops. It's only a matter of time that the next one is probably going to be for diagnostics of type 2 diabetes. Now think about that. All the people that have to come into the doctors every month, have their blood pressure checked, and their blood count, with their sugar measured, when it can be put into a machine and sent over the internet for analysis, and Obamacare will pay for it. They're right now paying $65 per consultation, 20-minute consultation with an aide, not a doctor, not a nurse, with an aide to ask them a series of questions on a monthly basis.
As long as that baby don't figure out how to weigh you, you'll be all right.
And it will. So, I don't want to take up your time, but you're following right now the state standard. Given the state broadband report requested by the House of Representatives, is now 25 megabits per second down. The prior state standard was 4. All right, so it was a 6-7% increase in just a matter of years, and that's not going to stop given the technology of the chipsets that are being developed. Your technologist, it's called Moore's Law. You're going to be at 100 megabits per second standard before too long. It's very difficult when we go to Washington, D.C., where they're advertising in the taxi cabs for 320 megabits per second, that you work in an area that has no broadband, or in many cases, like much of this county, is less than 3 megabits per second.
I think we realize I have a pencil's mentality. We talked about that too. I may not can teach calculus or teach French. My job as a principal is to find somebody who can. And I feel like my role here is we've got a problem. Now let's find people, let's put together a team here, and let's put it together and put a nice foot forward. With y'all commission, allow Mr. Earl and I to pursue this. We'll stay in contact with Ken, and we'll stay in community, and we'll report back to you.
I agree with you, Commissioner Shields. In fact, on my items, item D, is under new business, under discussion of liaison committee appointments. That was one of the new boards I'm going to be suggesting. But I'm good with it. And really want to comment.
Just a couple brief comments. I don't think any of us in this room would deny that there is a substantial need for broadband as well as extensive cell service in Macon County. And I appreciate the model from the community up. I think one thing we need to be very careful of is that we don't lose the vision that Macon County needs to be covered with broadband. Naturally, I will hold Trinity first. but I think as county commissioners, the policy might not get to be first. I think we need to look at it as a whole. And I think the county manager, with the assistance of mapping department, Mr. Hall has already started developing these maps that based on feedback from carriers. Now, we certainly realize that we need to qualify that data, and I think we're working on that. So from that, we're going to have a set of drawings developed that will give us an indication of what we have relative to broadband. So I think this is it's a great idea for the group to look at it, but I think that we need to look very closely and make sure that Macon County as a whole is looked at, and the deployment approach would be
And Mr. Will met with the hallway they communicated on some of their needs, and they know each other now. They're both working as a team on what you need to.
And I do think it's good what you were saying, that before we can say what was it, before this committee's obviously going to have to establish a goal. We're going to have goals of what we want to accomplish. Before we're able to set those goals, we really need to know where we're at right now. So until we know where we're at right now, we're not going to be able to say clearly where we need to go, where it's our goal to go. So I think the first step of that committee will be finishing out this inventory and getting a good idea, qualifying that data, which is going to be, from right now, it's going to be, a tall task. It's going to involve almost, the providers giving us a service address list, which we've requested from them and still haven't heard back from that. But, when you have maps that are out there that we're taking on the census block level, where when one person's reporting broadband, the whole census block is covered in, and then you zoom out, there's a lot of room for error in there. And so there's a lot of whittling down and narrowing down that we need to do, that it's going to take going from the community first, because it's going to take each of these communities in Macon County to tell us where it is and where it isn't, based on where we're at right now. So that will be valuable moving forward, but I think that committee, beginning at that point, that's kind of going to be how we're going to have to proceed, just like you were saying. And then in keeping the whole county in perspective, and I was going to ask you, do you see this as, I've noticed here the volunteer fire departments. It looks to me like we have volunteer fire departments in some very rural locations, and substations in very rural locations in Macon County. It looks to me like when you start talking about those fire stations, you're talking about public safety and getting broadband to those fire stations. There should be some money out there for that especially. And if you can get it to the fire stations, you're getting that toehold in that community. And so maybe that is the first step, looking at something like all the fire departments and substations spread out in the county, and going from there and getting a toehold in the community using that public safety for an opportunity for funding. So very excited about this, and
I think that I would recommend that planning board be brought back and get involved in this. They worked on this coming in, and they established some recommendations for this board on speed, et cetera. So I think there's some work, groundwork that's been done there that might be as valuable as possible.
And I hear what you're saying, I respect what you're saying. I think when you move from the planning board back to the commission, it was too big for the planning board. I think the planning board may have some information that would be an asset to us, but for them to go back and take it over, I'm not sure that they won't be a player.
I'm not inclined that they should take it over, but I am inclined that there's a planning board, and planning is their job, and they should be involved in this long-range plan.
I think maybe if you had a liaison from the planning board to serve on a committee
Maybe the chair of the planning
that
board
can
needs to
relay
be on that committee.
that can
But
relay.
I think the planning board absolutely needs to be plugged in.
Well, is everyone in consensus that Commissioner Shields and county manager move forward with it? Maybe. You get a little Paul?
Yeah.
Tim, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Good to see you. Thank you very much.
Good seeing you. 3 years ago, we started on this.
Gary, thank you for your interest in this.
Thank you.